Imagine absolute, suffocating darkness. The air is thick with crushed rock and burning coal dust, pressing in from every side. You cannot see the hand in front of your face. At 7:20 in the morning on May 19, 1902, this was the reality inside the Fraterville mine in Tennessee. A massive accumulation of methane gas met in open flame, triggering a devastating coal dust explosion. The initial blast ripped through the main entries, killing most of the 216 miners instantly. But deep inside a side passage known as the 15 right entry, 26 men survived the concussive force of the explosion entirely unscathed. Their immediate threat was the afterdamp, an invisible, lethal wave of carbon monoxide following the blast. To stop it, the survivors hastily constructed a crude barricade out of timber and cloth, sealing themselves in the dark. It was their only defense against the gas. But that physical barrier didn't save them. It simply trapped the breathable air they had left, trading a sudden death for a terrifying, finite countdown. Behind that wall sat 36-year-old Jacob Vowell. Huddled right beside him was his 14-year-old son, Elbert. This was a harsh, normal reality of early 20th century coal communities. Teenage boys routinely went underground to help support their families, working long hours for wages based strictly on the tonnage of coal they could haul. Jacob carried a small leather-bound pocket notebook with him that morning. In the absolute pitch black of the barricaded passage, he pulled it out and found a pencil. Over the next 7 hours, as the air supply steadily dwindled, Jacob used that notebook to record exactly what was happening behind the barricade. What he left behind is a rare forensic window into the biological reality of asphyxiation. It is a time-stamped diary of a father and son running out of breath. The first timestamp in the notebook is marked at 12 p.m., roughly 4.5 hours after the initial explosion trapped them. This visual represents the atmospheric decline inside a sealed space. At this point, the oxygen concentration behind the barricade is still high enough to support clear thinking and fine motor skills. Jacob's handwriting in this first entry remains steady and controlled. In these early hours, Jacob's mind is focused on communal order and spiritual peace. He writes to his wife, Sarah Ellen, "Little Elbert said he had trusted in the Lord. If we never live to get out, we are not hurt but only perished for air." Up on the surface, rescue parties led by Mine Superintendent George Camp were desperately trying to reach them. They pushed down the main shaft, but only made it 200 feet before the sheer density of toxic afterdamp forced them to retreat. While frantic crews battled blindly through the debris and gas above ground, Jacob was calmly in the dark below, writing down final messages to prepare his family for the end. The timeline advances. The next major entry is stamped at 1:30. The group has now been confined for over 6 hours. By this point, the biological reality of hypoxia is setting in. As the men breathe, they consume the remaining oxygen, while carbon monoxide invades their bloodstream, starving the brain and systematically dismantling physical control. You can see this physiological decay mapped directly onto the page. The pencil script becomes noticeably wider, highly uneven and erratic as Jacob begins to lose control of his hands. He documents a request from his son. Jacob writes, "Horace, Elbert said for you to wear his shoes and clothing. In a community where families lived on thin margins, a pair of boots and sturdy work clothes were incredibly valuable assets." A dying 14-year-old boy's immediate concern was ensuring his younger brother got his hand-me-downs. As the oxygen deprivation worsened, his focus shifted from spiritual resolve to the practical matters of survival for the family he was leaving behind. The final timestamp arrives at 2:25 p.m. Jacob and Elbert have been trapped for over 7 hours. The atmospheric makeup in the passage has shifted entirely. The oxygen concentration has dropped below the threshold required to maintain human consciousness. The evidence is right there in the graphite. The pencil strokes barely indent the damp paper anymore. They are faint, trailing, and irregular. Jacob scribbles a harrowing final plea. "Oh God, for one more breath." He asks to be buried in the same grave as Elbert, right next to little Eddie, an infant son the family had lost 3 years prior. The page ends with a final scribbled sign-off, Jake and Elbert. These faint, fading pencil marks represent the exact real-time moment a father and son slipped into unconsciousness together in the dark. At 4 p.m., the rescue corps finally managed to breach the barricade at the 15 right entry. Tragically, they found all 26 of the men dead. As the bodies were recovered and brought up to the surface, Jacob's pocket notebook was found exactly where he had left it, tucked carefully into his clothing. The notebook was given to his wife, Sarah Ellen. She lost her husband, a teenage son, and 2 brothers in a single morning. Amid the immense tragedy of 216 lost lives, the notebook remains a physical record of a father's love that survived the disaster. The Fraterville explosion swallowed an entire generation of men, but Jacob Vowell's notebook ensured their final hours weren't lost to the dark, immortalizing their endurance for over a century.